Good afternoon and welcome to the Introduction to Business Resources webinar. I'm just going to show you how to navigate to the library homepage and then the easy way to get to our recommended business resources. Those will include access to databases and journals that we provide subscriptions to through the Wolfgram Memorial Library. You can get to the library homepage either through your Canvas course. It will be under Library Resources on the left bar, or you can navigate from the widener.edu homepage under the WU links and then Wolfgram Library. We have important general information here at the top of the page, so our library hours are always posted and updated as needed. You can book a study room in the building here from the home page. You can also check your library account and renew items if you checked items out of the library collection. For this particular webinar, we want to highlight the subject to specific business databases. So we're going to scroll down to the section of tiles on the library homepage, and we're going to go to the subject guides. There's a list of general subjects here, and we're going to go under business, where there are 8 different guides listed. So there are a variety of guides under the general business category where resources are gathered together and recommended for each subcategory. So I'm going to use the Business Administration and Management Guide as an example of how to navigate through the subject guides. Most of them are set up in a very similar manner. So you can see this one just has sort of a starting page with general information and related guides at the bottom. And my contact information is here on the left. So my name is Teresa Edge. I am the liaison librarian from Wolfgram Library to the School of Business Administration, or SBA. So I am your contact person for library resources related to business. You can email me from here, or you can schedule a one-on-one appointment, and we can meet up either in person or over Zoom, or you can give me a call if needed. So the tabs here on the left are how you would navigate through the different areas of the guide. I'm going to start with the Scholarly Databases and Journals tab. So the Discovery at Widener is a search box that is a very general in nature, cross-disciplinary. It's basically Googling across almost all the library resources. For this webinar, we want to focus more on the subject-specific sources. So I'm going to drop down a little bit and just mention that we have some links here of some selected journals related specifically to business administration and management. So you can see some examples of things here. This is certainly not an exhaustive list, but it does highlight some of the titles that we have access to. So if you see one that you're interested in, so let's say I'd like to look at articles in Harvard Business Review, I can click on that link and it will take me to the page for that particular title. So this is showing you that we have access to this title in two different sources, and there are different years covered. So, for example, the Gale biography covers only 1997 to 2000. The Business Source Elite covers 1985 to the present. So if I want current material, I definitely want to go to the Business Source Elite link, and I'm going to click on that. And then you do need to log in with your user ID and password that you use for Widener resources. So it's just the user ID, not your full email address. So just the beginning before the @ symbol and your password. And so then you get a page that allows you to access all the different issues available. So on the right, there is a list of years, and you can see a plus sign in front of each one. So if I click on a year, it will expand to show all the issues available for that year. So I can go to the most recent issue of September, October 2022. If I click on that, it will bring up the list of articles that are available in that particular issue. So this is just for, say, browsing what's currently being covered by Harvard Business Review in the field. If I see an article that I find interesting, I can click on that title. It will open up the record, give me an abstract or summary of what that article is talking about. If I'm still interested, then I can click on the PDF full text link to get the full text of that article. I can also go back to this link again for the title, and instead of browsing by issue, if I have a topic, this will allow you, this link over here says search within publication. So now I can click on that link. It's restricting the search to Harvard Business Review as the source, and then in the second line, I can add my topic that I'm looking for. So let's say I'm interested in market volatility. That's telling the database that I want articles on market volatility only in the Harvard Business Review. So you can see that I have 18 results. All of them show Harvard Business Review as the source of the articles. Some of them, most of them we have available in PDF full text, but some of them are older, so they're not available in our collection. If you see one that has underneath these indications of Iliad with Wolfgram, DE campus, and HB or Harrisburg campus, that means we don't have a current subscription that covers that particular one. But if you still wanted it, you could click on the Iliad Wolfgram link, and that will take you to our interlibrary loan service. And that's a free service that we provide where we can request copies of articles from other libraries for you. It does take about 3 to 5 days usually to get those articles in, but it is a free service. The first time that you use the service, you want to go to first time users and register. You only need to do that once. And then after that, you would log in with the ID and password that you created and fill out a request form with the details of the article that you're looking for. And that would be included in the details of the article from the database. So I'm going to close back now. That was an example of searching within a particular journal title. I'm going to return to the research guide for business administration and scroll down a little bit more to the recommended databases that are included on the sheet. Each one will give you a brief summary of what the database covers, and you can get an idea of how specific it is. On each of the guides, there are databases listed that are most relevant for that specific subject. ABI Inform Collection and Business Source Elite are both extensive databases that cover business literature in general. So I'm going to use ABI Inform as my sample search. Just going to click on that database link, and it will bring up the search screen where I can put in my topic or search terms. So let's say I'm still looking at market volatility, but I'm specifically interested in the impact of natural disasters on market volatility. This is a very big database. I'm not searching in just one journal any longer, so I would recommend putting any standard phrases in quotation marks. So for example, I can, for both of my terms, I can do market volatility in quotes, and then I'm going to use the second line for my other search term and look for natural disasters, also in quotation marks. So that tells the system to look for that particular phrase in that exact order and can help narrow your results down a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and complete that search. And it will tell you the number in the upper left, so I have 24,000, a little bit over. And it highlights where my search terms appear in the records. So this is searching for a variety of articles in scholarly journals, newspapers, magazines, etc. I can use the facets here, the limits on the left, to narrow my results down a bit further. I would not recommend limiting just to full text because that eliminates all of the articles that actually we can link out to from here to other databases. So you don't want to eliminate those right from the beginning. You can limit to peer reviewed if you're specifically told or are looking for only scholarly peer reviewed journal articles. You can limit by source types, those are listed here. And one of the most common is to limit by publication date. So for example, let's say I'm really only interested in articles from the past 5 years. I can quickly select that here. You can also do a custom date range. So you can say, I only want articles published since 2001 or whatever the start date that you want to include. So that brought my limiting to the current 5 years, brought my results down to a little over, or about 15,500 results. Let's see. So then these are the brief records for the resources, the articles that are appearing. It gives you a title, usually an author, the journal or publication that it's in, the dates, issues, and pages of that particular article. If I click on the title, it will bring up the record with the abstract or summary of what the article covers, and also the subject headings assigned to that article. And this is a good place that you might get other search terms that you might want to try out and combine during your searching by topic. If I'm interested in this article, it does not have immediate full text available. So what I would do is click on under full text finder on the right, search other library databases for the full text. So if you click on that, it actually is a tool that will reach out and check our other sources for the full text of the article. So there's actually several links available here. I'm going to click on this first one where it says find this article in full text from Springer Nature. I click on that. It will take me out to the publisher site for that journal to this particular article. And then this is where you can download the PDF. So I do recommend that as you're searching, save your PDF files of the articles immediately to a designated folder that you can locate again later. You know how to retrieve it on your computer, whether that's in OneDrive or directly on your hard drive. But it's good practice to just save those articles as you go, because it can be more difficult than you think to go back and find an article that you remember seeing. If I go back to the entry in the database for this particular article, you can also email the article to yourself. You can print it directly from here. And perhaps most importantly, you can use the cite tool to get a formatted reference for the particular article. So there are several options available within the database of how the reference can be formatted. So some of the most common that you might be familiar with would be APA and MLA. So I can select MLA 7th edition and it will give me a formatted reference based on MLA. I can also change that. APA for ProQuest apparently has not provided an APA 7th edition. They do have the 6th edition. So I can get an APA 6th edition formatted reference. For articles, it hasn't changed that much from 6th to 7th edition, but in any case, just a warning that these are tools that are made available in the databases, but they are not perfect. So they can give you a good starting point for a formatted reference, but it's still your responsibility to verify that the formatting is accurate based against a real APA or MLA manual. If I go back to the results list, that was just, we were looking at that first article. The second article here, you can see right from the short list that it has the full text PDF immediately available for that article. So I can go to that directly from here, or I can open up the record first, and then it will have the full text PDF link on the left, and it will bring up that article immediately. And then again, you can download the PDF on the upper right, you can email it, you can print it, and you can cite it. When you do use the cite feature, make sure that you immediately copy that reference and paste it into a Word document for later use. Even if you end up not using it, it's better to have the reference from the beginning and not use it than to not have it when you need it. So that is the basic overview of how to search within the ABI Inform database. I'm going to close that out and come back to the research guide. And just mention some of the other resources that you might find helpful. So there are many different types of databases that are available through the library, and some of them are very, very specific. So for example, we have the CCH Internet Tax Research Database, which you would only need to search if you are doing a project or a class related to taxes and tax research. There's regional business news and more like newspapers in the region. The Business Source Elite and ABI Inform are pretty standard, searching for literature in magazines and journals, but there are other kinds of databases too. So for example, we have Hoover's company profile database that gives company reports. So if I click on that, let's say I'm interested in finding a report on WB Mason. I can put the company name into the search bar, click on search, and a match comes up with Hoover's company records. If I click on that full text PDF, it's going to bring up a DNB Hoover's report on that particular company. Now, WB Mason is a private company, so you will find, if we scroll down through the full text of this report, it will give you a table of contents to show you the different types of information that are included in the report. There's a company overview, there are major employees, and industry information. But if we scroll down through that text, again, you can see the company overview, some basic information, a key financial, key people, company description, company history, very short. The SIC and MAGS codes associated with the business, and very, very brief financial summary. So, oh, and a list of competitors as well, which can be very, very helpful. If you're doing research on a certain company and you want to compare some of their competitors and what the reports you might want to look up for them as well. So that is an example of a private company where we would have limited access to their information. They're not required to file their reports, annual reports with the SEC. If I go back, I can do if I do a search for a public company such as Office Depot, in comparison, we have their Hoover's company records for Office Depot here. If I look at the full text, the setup is the same. The table of contents will include the same pieces of information. But you can see already that there's a lot more available for company financials. So if I scroll down, there's the company overview. They have some company rankings. Company description is much more detailed. Company history. Because basic company the financial summary begins here, and then there's a lot more detail about income statements and balance sheets and quarterly earnings and that kind of thing. So there's a lot more information available for the public companies because they are required to file that information with the SEC. For any of the reports, again, in the upper right, you can download the PDF and save it immediately. You can email, you can print, and you can cite those resources. So that's just an example of a different kind of database. It's not searching journal and magazine articles, but it's providing company report information instead. If I go back to the research guide, I just want to highlight some of the other tabs that are available here. So we looked at scholarly databases and journals. If I go to the print books and ebooks, these are just some selected reference books that we have in the library collection. Some of them are print. So if you see a call number, this is actually available in print within the library. If you don't see a call number and you see this little book icon with the E on it, that's an ebook. So you can click on that and access it online. If you hover over the titles, you'll get a description of what that covers. So these are dictionaries and handbooks that are available. You can click over and we have some encyclopedias specifically geared toward business administration. We have Encyclopedia of Business Ethics and Society, Encyclopedia of Leadership, that kind of thing. We scroll down, there are also some featured ebooks that are recommended, and you can access those from here as well. And on the left, there are links to searching our ebook collections if you're specifically looking for ebooks on a particular topic. Under web resources, we have selected recommended websites that you might find helpful in your research, and a few examples of streaming video as well. There's a tab for SWOT analysis, so it describes what that means, and then it actually gives you some guidance on how you can look for SWOT analysis using the Business Source Elite database. So there's a step-by-step guide here available on how to do that. And the Write and Cite tab will give you information about the MLA and APA style guides, links out to the Purdue OWL, and information on how to do annotated bibliographies. So you can get that guidance on formatting and citing your works properly in any of your assignments, presentations, or papers. So this was all on the Business Administration and Management guide. I am going to pop back to the list of subject guides. And again, go under business. And I wanted to mention again that we have other guides that might point to other specific resources under that particular topic. So for example, if I go to the accounting guide, it's set up similarly, start page. There's a scholarly databases and journals. So there are different journals that are linked out here that you can search within or browse by issue. And then there are recommended databases for searching. So on this page, we have specifically an accounting, tax, and banking collection database that was not available on the Business Administration guide. We also have links to some public Edgar and SEC filing sites here. Similarly, if I go back again and click on the Sport and Event Management guide, there are specific resources for that topic that are recommended here. So we have the top journals again at the top that you can browse by issue or search within, and then recommended databases. So there are a couple of specific databases for the sports management program that are not on the other pages, such as Sport Discus with full text and Sports Market Analytics. So Sport Discus is a database of literature that covers sport and sporting events in magazines and journals, just like, the business database we saw before. Sports Market Analytics is another one of those different databases that provides access to different types of information. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up just to give you a brief demo on what that looks like and what you might find in here. So it has a lot of different updated information related to sports business research. Some of the most interesting information can be found under the summary. So if you highlight hover over these different tabs, it'll show you some of the things that are available. So under summaries, there are a lot of different sections that you can browse. There are sections specifically on sports gambling, participation, sporting goods. You can search under specific sports, the fan market, the college market. So for example, I can go into the NFL gambling survey directly from here, and it will give me this summary of data of 2020 and 2021 information about responses to the NFL gambling survey. So you can see what percentage of NFL fans have placed a bet in the past 12 months, and what outlets are used to gamble or place bets. So there's sports books and a bookie and state-run sports gambling outlets. There's increase in spending on sports gambling. So that's just an interesting example of what can be found in here. There's also under fan market, you can find fantasy sports demographics. So if I click on that, it will bring up a table of contents of various tables of data related to fantasy sports and the users. So that's kind of interesting as well. Under sports, this is where information is organized by a specific sport. So if you're looking for obviously information about any one particular area, you can go to that section and look for information related to that particular sport. Resource Center has a variety of resources that link out to other things. So there's sports gambling, date, links and information. There's participation data, all kinds of things that it links out to. And then under Newsstand, there are specific publications and online blogs. So news content available. So like I can go under news and click on sports business news, and I'll get links out to some of the most current articles that have been published related to sports research and sporting news. You can search by keyword, you can select a particular sport, or you can select a certain magazine that you're interested in as the source. So that's a handy way to browse current news items and publications. So that was just another example of a type of database that can be found through the library subscriptions. I'm going to go back to the research guide. So again, all of the guides available in the Wolfram subject guides. If you click on business, we have the 8 available there. They all work in a similar manner. And you can pick which one is the most relevant to you based on the current class that you're in or based on your major. And on every one of them, once you go into the guide, you can find my contact information here on the left. So again, you can feel free to reach out and email me or schedule an appointment if you have further questions about any of our business library resources. Thank you.